7 in a row for the Knicks. Jesus Christ. Got to talk about it all. Welcome to the show. Episode 452 of the podcast. Welcome to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. If I look to my right every couple of seconds, it's, and obviously this only matters to if you're watching the video format of the podcast. I am watching the Monday Night Football game between Green Bay and the Rams. Usually I don't give a damn about these games. I'm not that big a football fan, but I have some money on it, so you know. But welcome to the show. We're here to talk Knicks, and I got a few other things to talk about too. I wanted to start the show off with, so we'll get to all of it. Let's talk. Welcome to BD4, an RJ Carbone podcast. BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. BD4 is a 5-star show on Apple Podcasts, also available in video format on YouTube and Spotify. So thanks for stopping by, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Champion of the world, turning, looking, see ya! Anthony for three, bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied! Time!
Penetrates, creates, and showing some dexterity as well with the left hand.
Yankees win!
All right, what is happening, everybody? Welcome to the show, episode 452 of BD4. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate everybody who's tuning in right now. Hope you're having a good morning, good afternoon, a nice night, whenever it is. As I am recording, it is Monday, December 19th, 2022. And as you are listening to this show, it should be at least December 20th, maybe earlier if I can get it out the same night that I'm recording this. So last night I was watching the Giants game for a little bit. I saw, right after the Knick game, I tuned into the Giant game. Well, actually, I watched the Knicks game. Then I watched Yellowstone, and then I think I watched I don't know what the fucking order was, but I watched the end of the Giants game, and it was good. I just had a feeling from the start that the Giants were going to win, so I put money on that. But it was a good game, and they obviously needed that game. They were tied with the, I was going to say Redskins, with the Commanders, the football team. They were tied with them in the standings, at least as far as wins, losses goes. I don't know I know the Giants have a tie, but nonetheless, it was a big win. The Giants have been on a bit of a skid. They needed a win. They hadn't gotten a win in a few weeks. So that was a big one, especially given what they have ahead. The Vikings, that's a big game coming up on Christmas Eve for the Giants. You've got the Eagles coming up. So, yeah, that they needed to keep their season alive. Had they have lost that game, I don't know that it would have been official, but it wouldn't have looked great for them as far as playoff chances. But yeah, came down to the final seconds, really. I mean, the Commanders, they had the ball, they had first and goal, and they ended up scoring a touchdown to get to that, to have a chance to tie it up with a 2-point conversion, but the touchdown was called back after illegal formation. One of their receivers wasn't fully up on the line of scrimmage. So that also screwed up my over-under, so that was nice. But hey, I also, like I said, I watched some Yellowstone last night, and it was good. It was good. It was more, it was more so again, but there were so, like so it starts out with, hold on one second. Starts out with a flashback scene. Rip is talking to that kid who's trash talking Beth, and he didn't like it very much, so he goes after him. Kid eventually pulls a knife on Rip. Rip ends up killing him with a rock, smashes it against his head countlessly, and then he tells John about it after the kid told him not to tell John to save his own self. But he tells John because he's an honest man, Rip, and I guess we see how that's how their tight relationship began on the ranch. He feels like he owes him his life. And then we go to Jamie, who basically just keeps getting manipulated by Sarah. It seems like that's going to be the big storyline in the second half of the season. There's one more before the mid-season finale in 2 weeks. No, the mid-season finale is the final episode coming up in 2 weeks, actually. There's no episode next week. But, yeah, so Jamie, him trying to take down John from the governor's spot and the repercussions of him working with Sarah, that's, I'm sure that's all going to come to a head going up against the family. There's the Rainwater storyline, which honestly, I won't lie to you, I have not much of an idea of what's going on there. They just use too big of words for me. The terminology is too intricate for me to understand. I'm very stupid. Basically some pipeline is being built somewhere, and the senator lady tells Rainwater and his side dude guy, Mo, that I don't know, tells him something. I don't know. But the big storyline this episode was the one that I also didn't 100% understand. The one with the whole, it's just a lot of cowboy conflict that I don't know. Something about cattle being infected, and it's something to do with land in Texas, and Rip and a few others are going to have to move the cattle to Texas in the winter and they're going to be down there for a year at least. So, they say their goodbyes, or they prepare to say their goodbyes. They have a big county fair for one last hurrah before they depart, which I imagine is, there's probably going to be a time jump to start the second half of the season when they're all back, maybe. But I don't know. Maybe there's not. I don't know. And then the whole cattle thing ties in with Beth and some money stuff in there. I'm not smart enough again, but there's some money stuff with the beef industry, and she's looking up the 4-6s, which is where Jimmy is. So maybe he'll come into play later in the season, but we haven't seen him yet. But how can they? Basically, she's telling him she learns that they're selling their own beef over there, and I guess she goes to John and says to John that they should do the same thing. I really don't know. Again, I am simply not smart enough to understand some of this, but then we go back to Jamie and Sarah, and the Ellis guy is there in the office with them. And them three, their plan is to impeach John if he follows through with Beth's plan. So we see Jamie practicing his speech for it all at the end. So it was good. I'm starting to understand some of it, but it's still slow, right? But as slow as it has been, I can see a scenario where this builds up, and I can see that the second half of the season becoming very thrilling, nerve-wracking, action-packed and just absolutely nuts between the Duttons and the market equities people and Sarah. I can see a lot of dirty things going on. I could see a lot of death, explosions. I could see like cliffhangers coming, a lot of very intense, holy shit, scary scenes coming. I can definitely see that happening in the second half. I think they're building to something, and if they're not, boy, is that a disappointment for 2 consecutive seasons. And then I watched 1923, which was right after. Crack my neck. I feel myself getting old, man. 1923 was pretty good. I have to say, it was good. It picks up 40 years after the events of 1883, which, if you have not seen that yet, I advise you do. If you're a Yellowstone fan, it was very good. But it starts off, we see Kara Dutton. She shoots some dude who was running away from her. It's a very intense first scene. They both, they're racing to reload their weapons. Kara wins. She shoots him. She screams. She walks away. Kara's the wife of Jacob Dutton. And now Jacob Dutton is the brother of James Dutton, who was in 1883. That was Tim McGraw's character. So that makes Jacob the great uncle, the great grand uncle of John from Yellowstone, if I'm correct. Yeah, and so Jacob he's been raising James Dutton, Tim McGraw, his boys. And we learned this in the narration. James sent his wife and her boys away or some shit. The mother dies. She's like frozen in a snowdrift. James is dead. We saw that in a flashback in Yellowstone season 4 when he gets shot as he comes home. And only one boy was born during 1883, the show, when we were watching it. John Sr., who was in 1883, was born. But there's another son now, born after we watched the show. His name is Spencer Dutton. John has a son named Jack Dutton, who is in the 1923 show. And Jack is getting married to a rancher girl. And he postpones it 2 weeks for some cowboy shit, right? We saw that whole thing play out. And the other son, Spencer, we see him dealing with PTSD from the war. He's coming out of World War I want to say he's maybe about 35, 36 years old. We see him in his first scene hunting in Africa. He's hunting big game. He's hunting game in Africa, like lions and leopards and shit. And it's pretty cool how we learned that he's a Dutton, too. Later in the episode, after we have already seen a few scenes with him, we didn't know who he was. But later in the episode, I think through like a camp director calling out his name, we learned that he's a Dutton. So Elsa, who is the narrator in 1883, is also, I guess she's narrating from heaven in 1923. But she's telling us this all through narration, and then she tells us that only one of the Dutton boys lives, and I think that means John Sr. is going to be the one to live, since John from Yellowstone is John the Third, right? And John Sr. is the kid from 1883. That was a kid. So, that obviously means he's going to have, yeah. But we do see him get shot later in the episode. Anyways, problems on the there are some problems on the land, of course. What's Yellowstone without that? The Game of Thrones guy, we learn, is in this. Bran, I think it was Bran. He was like Tyrion's sidekick. He's in this as a sheep herder, an Irish sheep herder. And he's angry about the dead cattle. He blames some other Irish group. And then him and Jacob argue about needing more land for the sheep to graze. And then Jacob says either sell those sheep or spend the money to lease more land. He's getting angry about it. Sell them to who? So him and John go face to face, and then later he starts fucking shit up on the land, and he cuts the wire so the sheep can graze anyway on some private property. That's going to be a problem. And I think it's actually one of the Game of Thrones dude's people who shoots John or does he shoot John Sr.? Or is it Jack? He shoots Jack, right, late in the episode. Yeah. So fucking some shit. It's hard for me to memorize this. Yeah, I think earlier, like a few minutes ago, I said John Sr. got shot. I meant to say Jack gets shot. But yeah, no, it's interesting. And then there's also the entire separate storyline right now with the Native American girl. I think her name is Tiana. She's in that all-girls Catholic school with the nuns and shit. That was crazy. The nun is questioning the girl Tiana. She gets mad. The girl, she ends up speaking up. The nun slaps her. Then she gets up, beats the pulp out of the nun. The students are watching. They're cheering on, and eventually they both go to the head priest's office. Right? I guess that's like the principle for religious people, right? and that guy is a whack job. He beats them both. He beats them both up. It was weird. Then you have the whole bathing scene, which was creepy. And then later that night, Tiana and I guess her best friend are in their beds and they're talking to each other about getting out. The friend's like, yeah, just one more year and we're good. Tiana's all like, hey, yo, nobody has reached out to us since they left this shit. Some shit is going on behind the scenes here. The nuns are doing some shit or something's going on. But it's good. I'm into it. It's, again, the history, family history, the family tree. It's hard to keep track of. I should probably take some notes or at least read some blogs after watching these episodes so I can get a little bit of an idea. It's much like Game of Thrones where there's a lot of characters. But it's good. I'm enjoying it. I also watched Tulsa King last night. Episode, was it 6? Very, very good. And I promise we'll get to the Knicks after this. You can skip. Obviously, you can always skip ahead. If you're watching on YouTube, the timestamps are in the description. But Tulsa King. So the last episode last week ended with Stallone killing Nico, who we believe, we're led to believe Nico sexually assaulted Stallone's daughter. And so this one was also good. It turns out that, Waltrip's biker gang, I think the McAdam group, they have an informant in it. And this informant, she's been singing to the ATF agent, Stacy, that Stallone is with. Right? And Stacy tries her best to deflect the info off of Stallone and kind of keep him out of the mess. But that Doug guy, who's part of the FBI, I think, or reaches out to the FBI, he doesn't buy any of Stacy's bluffs, and he just gives all the shit to the FBI. So they now know that Stallone is in Tulsa. They're going to be watching him closely, and obviously that's a problem because Stallone literally just murdered somebody in cold blood. Meanwhile, Chicky, the dude from The Wire, which is another show I need to watch, he wants to teach Stallone a lesson for killing Nico. And, just acting the way he has acted since he got out. He, punched that one dude in the first episode. He's causing trouble. His father, the Wire dude's father, is the head of this New York mob. Pete, his name is. So he tells Chicky that, lay off him. Don't do anything. Because he knows Stallone's a good dude. And Chicky doesn't listen. He does it anyway, and he ends up assaulting Stallone's son-in-law, who is his daughter's husband. And so this is only going to make the relationship between Stallone and his daughter even worse, because she literally told him not to do anything about it because she was worried about blowback. And what do you know? So there's going to be family drama, both in the mob family and in his actual family. And then also the FBI raids this stoner kid, his weed shop. I'm still trying to get to the names. But he doesn't really give them anything good, though, on Stallone. He ends up getting his money back, which was a pretty cool scene because you see him grow a lot of respect for Stallone there in that scene. Stallone ended up moving the money into the bar. You then had the meeting with Waltrip, who, again, Waltrip is like the head guy of that biker gang. Now, Stacy, she wants Stallone to set them up. But Stallone's a mobster. He's all about honor and never working with the feds and all that stuff. So he doesn't do that, and he goes his own way. Waltrip gives this whole metaphorical speech in the meeting about stepping into his kitchen, etc. And then Stallone responds by basically telling him that none of this is your territory because you are not a native in this country, and basically that he's not going to accept his terms, and he's not going to stop doing what he's doing. And then Stallone leaves, and that sets up for some more heat in the coming episodes. So at the end, we see Stallone and the bartender kid, Mitch, who is also part of Stallone's crew, along with the stoner dude. They're in the bar alone together, talking about partnering up to run the bar. And while they're talking, I guess one of the head guy, not the head guy, but one of the, soldiers from the Waltrip crew, he shoots up the place. He fires into the building. And so they go outside to see what the hell's going on. They see that it's one of the McAdam members. And then right there, they deal with it. They shoot the guy dead. Or they kill him. I don't remember how. And then that's the heat is coming. The heat is coming. There's a lot of things going on. Different aspects. And it's good. I'm enjoying it, man. I didn't know how to feel after the first episode or two. But I'm really getting into it. Anything with Stallone is good. And again, I'm calling him Stallone. I get that, but I think it's Manfredi. I forget his first name though. It's not like Italian. I gotta look. It's like some shit. They gave him like a very non-Italian name because it's supposed to bring humor because it's a mobster in Oklahoma. But it's good. I'm enjoying it. And Taylor Sheridan who's the head guy in directed Yellowstone. He's in charge of 1883, 1923. He also created this show, Tulsa King. So this dude's a genius, man. He's taken up a lot of my life right now with television. So. And a lot of this podcast, we haven't even gotten to the Knicks yet. So we'll talk Knicks, I promise, when we get back. Let's do it. Let's get to break. Come back and talk Knicks. Be right back. All right, welcome back to the show. Welcome. The Knicks. Remember the Knicks? They clutched up, man. They clutched up in Indy for their 7th straight victory last night. WWW. 7 in a row. 6 in a row on the road. And 17-13 overall in the season now. Another tight one last night. And a very good basketball game to watch as a fan of the sport. It was just classic Knicks-Pacers, old-school rivalry going down to the final seconds. A total battle, if you will. No team pulled the lead to double figures at any moment. There were 19 total lead changes, 17 ties in this game. But again, the Knicks got it done this time. And you had another big-time effort from the mid-three. Can we start calling them the big three? 79 combined from Brunson, Barrett, and Randle last night. The Knicks were just dominating at the hoop and at the line. while the Pacers were doing damage from the three-point arc. The Knicks were down pretty much the entire fourth quarter. At times they tied it up, but they were down most of the period. But that will to win, that Thibodeau grit, it took over. Brunson came through with some big-time play on both ends of the floor. Robinson picked up a key rebound late. Randle coming through with clutch stops and big-time foul shooting. And then you get the last second heave just past half court from Halliburton. It bounces on the back of the rim right at the buzzer, just misses. I was nervous there. And so the Knicks win 109-106. Just once again, man, this team, they're finding ways to win. They grind through any type of adversity and get it done. Earlier in the year, they literally found ways to lose. They let any small deficit that grew just a tiny bit lead to blowouts. Right? It was like that in OKC. It was like that against Atlanta. It was like that against Cleveland. I recall the Dallas game before this win streak started. They were all similar games, similar types of games where it was at one point close, but it eventually ballooned because the Knicks couldn't stop the bleeding once those teams went on a run. But now the Knicks are playing smart, right? They're smartening up. They're knocking down big shots. They're getting key stops, big rebounds. They're calling timeouts in the right spots. And that's where I want to start. I thought Thibs deserved credit with some key decisions late. And so we'll talk about that to start off. We're just going to head to break 1 second. We'll be right there. BD4 is located on many different platforms. You can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts. And if you do there, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and review. You can listen to it on Spotify, but you can also watch the podcast on both Spotify and YouTube. BD4 is available on many other platforms as well. All you got to do is search it up. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and much more. All right, so yeah, I need to credit Thibs, man. I like what I saw. I like what he did last night. It was around 5 minutes and change to go. You had Aaron Naismith, who was giving the Knicks trouble all night. It was literally the Aaron Naismith game, just like it's been any other random journeyman's game against the Knicks before, which we've seen. Naismith throws down a dunk to make it 99-93 Pacers with 5 minutes and change to go. So it's an 8-2 Pacer run to put them up 6. Thibs calls a timeout right then, and the Knicks, after Brunson's 5th foul, go on to score 5 consecutive points to put this into a 1-point game. And then eventually they get big stops and make more key baskets to win. And I think the timeout was a big reason for that. It helped them regain their composure. That's what timeouts are for. And you had the Knicks hold Indiana to just 7 points in the final 5 minutes there after that timeout. They finished the game with a 16-7 run. So I want to credit Thibodeau for that, for calling that timeout, because in the past we have criticized him for, whether it's not calling a timeout in the right spot or, for the Knicks flopping in their ATOs late in the game. But this time it worked. Smart. And another decision defensively where Thibs had Randle switch on to Halliburton for those late possessions where the Knicks needed stop. One of them with 12 seconds left. The Knicks were up just 1 point. Indiana basketball. But instead of having Grimes just fight through the screen, he goes to Naismith, who fades. Randle switches on to Tyrese and does a fantastic job on the right elbow to force that missed three-point attempt. He keeps him in front of him, he prevents the drive, and he contests the shot pretty well and forces the miss. And, third, just the Knicks simply knocked down their free throws last night. They were a very horrendous 4 for 9 in the first quarter, But after that, they finished up converting 19 of their next 21, 90% in the final three quarters. So Randle, obviously a big part of that. He was 6 for 6 in the fourth quarter there. But yeah, I want to make sure Thibodeau gets his credit again. Hot seat Thibs is not to be messed with, folks. And the Knicks seem to be playing that style of basketball, that style of Thibodeau basketball again that we saw in the COVID season and in parts of the second half last year. Just gritty, smart, no-quit defense. A tight 9-man rotation where the starters are going to run the bulk of the minutes out there. Offensively, they are going to pound the paint. They're going to get to the line. And if they have to, they're going to play it slow. I like that their pace has improved this season. But I also like that it's not rushed. Right? I often emphasize that the Knicks play fast. But I'm never saying that they should be top 3 in the league or something like that. I actually think if you remain in the middle in terms of your pace, sometimes that's fine to slow it down, right? It just calls for whatever the game's showing you. But I like that the Knicks were 16th or 29th in pace last year, and that has rose to 16 this year. If there's one thing I do want them to do a better job of, that's obviously shoot the three-point ball better, because that's going to be important in today's game, right? But we'll see there. That just comes down to being skilled enough. And speaking of like three-point shooters, JJ Redick, I was watching a clip of his podcast earlier today, and he was on the money about the Knicks winning streak and what has been behind it, what's been the key reason. And literally mimicking everything I said in previous episodes recently, mentioning Deuce McBride and Quentin Grimes and their defense, saying how well that they play their man, right? He was, and I quote, saying they're into their shit. They guard well, and they don't get broken down in the point of attack. And yeah, it's literally everything we've been saying about those two guys right here. Watch these guys defend, and you won't see them biting on penetration up the middle and over-helping on those drives. They stay home, and they stick themselves like glue to their assignment. So, he's absolutely right. But I want to talk about one guy in particular who continues to just put up big performances, and of course, that is Jalen Brunson.
Bing bang.
Jalen Brunson last night gets another bing bong ball, 30 points, 11 of 22 shooting, 3 of 3 at the three-point line, 5 for 5 on his free throws, and 2 steals. Another big night. I mean, momentum shifting baskets and key stops. His three-point hot streak has really gotten him hot lately. He's 9 of 12 in the last 2 nights, 12 of 18 in the last 3 nights from 3. He's playing the passing lanes exceptionally well lately too. And for a guy of his size, 4'2", that's everything you want to see. You want to see effort like that. And he had 3 steals, 3 in the third quarter alone, on Friday night in Chicago. And he had 2 more last night, and one of them came late fourth quarter, and it was just a monumental steal given where the Knicks were in the game. The Pacers were up 3 points. They had the ball with 1:30 to go. Buddy Hield drives. He kicks it out to Turner. Turner, who's in the right corner, swings it to Nembhard. Nembhard swings it to Halliburton, but Brunson jumps the lane, and he's at the top of the key, and he picks off the pass. And from there, he runs the break with the ball, lays it in, gets the finish to make it a 1-point game. And that play right there was huge. That was a big moment for Brunson. And that was actually right after his big-time three-point ball. There was like 1:45 to go. And he knocks down a three-pointer to bring the Knicks within those 3 points. So he's just been everything in the clutch for them, man. He's been everything all year, so consistent. The only thing I would say last night which was very uncharacteristic for him, was the 3 assists versus 4 turnovers. right? But that's so rare for him. I don't even my guess is he's not even done that more than 3 or 4 times this year. It might even be less. But he's just a winning point guard, man. He is calm. He is steady. He is super composed. And one thing I always forget to mention, the guy never forces it. Like, how often do you find yourself yelling at the TV towards Brunson? Right? We do it with RJ. We do it with Julius. We do it with a lot of other guys quickly with the shot selection. Mitch with the fouls, maybe. But never, ever, ever, almost never, do we really do it for Brunson. Like, he's always just, first of all, he makes everything he takes in that mid-range area. He's a good finisher. Now he's starting to knock down his threes. He takes smart shots, makes smart decisions. It's very impressive. And it makes you think, with the Knicks starting to win now, the All-Star voting is opening up this week, I think tomorrow. Does Brunson deserve a spot on the roster over maybe a Tyrese Halliburton or Darius Garland? Right? I think yes, just because based off the way he's played and what he's done for this Knicks team, I think you could make a case that he should at least be on the roster. I got to check out the list, see who some of the other guys are on it. But I really don't care too much about All-Star stuff and individual accomplishments. But it would be nice, and it'd be pretty poetic, right? Given we've lacked that All-Star for the last several seasons, and it's a good game, Packers-Rams. And, we've lacked the point guard over the last several seasons. So to have the Knicks get back on track this year with an All-Star and it be a point guard, it'd be nice to see. But, yeah, Jalen Brunson, you can't say enough good things about him. Julius Randle. We'll talk about Julius. Last night, 25 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists. The jump shot wasn't there again. I kind of got frustrated with some of his three-point attempts that he took, stepping back, some bad shots in there. But he did get to the free throw line a dozen times. He went 9 for 12. The Pacers were throwing some doubles at him from the very get-go in this game, but he was pretty smart with it. He took advantage of some of those mismatches in single coverage, like with Naismith on him. He was good offensively. I didn't love the defense for most of the night until the very end there. But overall, he was good. And most importantly, again, he was clutch. Guys, that performance at the foul line late in the game was crucial. 6 for 6 towards the end there from the stripe from Randle. 2 big ones with 45 seconds left to get the Knicks from down 1 to up 1. 2 more with 7 seconds left to make it a 3-point game in the Knicks' favor. And then the ones with 4.5 left to put the Knicks up 3 again to eventually win. So it was the first time I have ever seen Randle knock down all of his free throws in the clutch. And I'm not saying that as some dumb exaggeration either. I'm seriously, I don't remember him ever. He usually misses one. But he was great. And how about that crossover last night on Halliburton, was it? For that dunk? Epic. So I liked what I saw from Julius. RJ Barrett, I also liked what I saw from RJ. He finished the night with 24 points, 10 of 19 shooting, 4 of 5 at the free throw line. No jump shot from him either last night, but he too wasn't really forcing it. He shot 0 for 5 from 3, but he only took 1 3-point attempt in the entire second half. So that was something I loved seeing. As Rodgers continues to scramble out of pocket and gets sacked. I've got him for 170 yards tonight passing. Not looking great, bub. But instead, he took it to the hoop, RJ, and he got to the free throw line some. He was 10 of 14 last night inside the arc. That's over 70%. He was finishing with his right. That was good to see. That's a rarity. He threw down an aggressive dunk himself. Talking about rarities. Just playing bully ball last night, and that's always been his bread and butter. The last 5 games for RJ, 25, 6, and 3, shooting 47% and 39% from 3. It seems like he's rarely having games. He doesn't often have games where he shoots well from both 2 and 3. I'm noticing that, but that's his whole thing, right? That's why he's been very inconsistent throughout the course of his career. Some poor decision-making as a playmaker, too. He had 5 total turnovers. 4 of them came in the second half. The 2 turnovers in the fourth quarter were very frustrating to watch because they both came on back-to-back possessions, and it was a tight game, obviously. Didn't like seeing that. He had the one to Sims on the lob attempt and then one to weak side to Hartenstein. But other than, the turnovers and defensively, I thought he was a mixed bag. Hield is a tough cover. He can shoot contested shots, and he's good at creating separation off the dribble. RJ did pick up a block again last night. But yeah, other than the defense and the turnovers, I thought it was a good night for RJ. I think he's staying steady of late as a scorer, and he's playing very well. Quentin Grimes, 6 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks last night. So not much in terms of scoring, unfortunately. He was only 1 for 3, so I just thought he wasn't really featured much. Wasn't getting much, many touches with the way Brunson, RJ, and Randle were going. And that's going to be interesting. Excuse me. That's going to be interesting to see. How we can incorporate Grimes into the offense so he can give you those double-figure efforts more often, right? As a guy who plays mainly off the ball, playing with 3 other guys who play mainly on the ball, where are his reps going to come from? How is that going to look like down the stretch? I'm very curious, interested to see how that works. He did make his only 3-pointer count, though, for sure. A big-time 3 with about 3 minutes left to pull the Knicks within 1 point. Just like the other night when he made a couple big threes. He's the opposite of what Reggie Bullock was, in the matter that Reggie was alive in the first 3 quarters and he disappeared in the fourth. But Grimes defensively was strong once again. That's always a thing. He's always good defensively. He forced Halliburton into some tough possessions, forcing him to pass a lot last night. He picked up a big steal with less than 30 seconds left. And the Knicks up 1 and Indiana with the ball, picks up a big steal, grabs a big rebound too after the possession where Randle got the stop on Halliburton. So overall, defensively, thought he was good. 2 steals, 2 blocks. Held Halliburton to just 15 points on 16 shots. Obviously, the only big-time blunder was that foolish turnover where he dribbled into a trap near the sideline and turned it over. But again, that's when you had Randle get the stop and Grimes jump for that board to make up for it. We'll go to center. We'll talk about Mitch Robinson for a few minutes. Mitch, another big one. 10 points, 13 rebounds, an assist, a steal, 4 blocks. Picked up had a big first half. 8 rebounds and all 4 of his blocks. Picked up his 500th career block in the second quarter last night. But yeah, forcing the Pacers to work on the perimeter all night. They took 38 3-point attempts. Only 40 points were scored in the paint for the Pacers. And they had 7 less free throw attempts than the Knicks. 5 more offensive rebounds. Once again, just providing second opportunities for the Knick offense. Just chasing the board in traffic. Either dunking it when he gets it, throwing it out, or drawing contact. The key rebound late. The Knicks are down 99-93 with less than 4 minutes left. Brunson misses a floater. Mitch grabs the offensive board, puts it back off the backboard for the finish. And that was big because if he didn't grab that rebound, and if Indiana takes it, they get the ball with an opportunity to make this thing an 8 or 9 point game. So that was a tremendous rebound. But, yeah, more of the same dominance last night for Mitch Robinson, just taking care of the middle. And the last 10 games now for Mitch, he's averaging 8 points, 12 rebounds, 2 blocks across 29 minutes. So, did great. Talk about the bench. We're going to talk about the bench as soon as we get back from break here. I have some good to say, but I also just want to make some critiques about the second unit in a second. So we'll be right back. Stay with us. Be right there. We also have a website now for BD4. If you go to BD4blog.com, you can find the blog, the podcast links, and also where to find me on social media. Just go to BD4blog.com. So, last night, the bench, my only complaint of late, or my only ask, is that the bench starts stepping up offensively. Because they have played some excellent defense. We just need a little bit more offense from certain guys, right? Deuce McBride, I would like to see him become more aggressive. Last night, I thought he was, though. He had some quick trigger, catch and shoot threes. I was happy to see that. But overall, it'd be nice to see him knock some threes down. Emmanuel quickly. Where's the shot making, pal? Listen, I get the infatuation when it comes to IQ and Knicks fans. I get it. Scoring punch off the bench. Good playmaker. He's got a nice 1-2 game with some of the bigs, Obi and Sims, right? Can play the pick and roll with them. Plays great defense. Last night he made great rotations. He keeps his man in front of him on the ball. But, man, at some point, my guy, at some point, it is going to have to improve for you offensively. I'm getting a little exhausted sitting through these games and saying to myself, man, it'd be nice if Emmanuel quickly were on tonight. Because that'd just be one more weapon. You know, it should not have to be like that. And I did some digging with Quickly earlier when I got home from school. So he has played in 172 career games. 87 of them, he shot below 40% from the field. So that's over half of his games over the course of his career have been below 40%. And here's an even uglier one. In 53 of 172 career games, he shot below 30%. So that's almost a third of his career games Quickly has shot in the 20% range or less. That is just pathetic efficiency, pathetic inefficiency. It's awful. And remember, this is a guy who doesn't just shoot on occasion, right? He's a volume shooter. I'm not talking about Quickly going 1 for 3, 1 for 4, 2 for 6. Like he averages 15 field goal attempts per 36 minutes. So like it's just got to get better. You know, like all these Knicks fans considering Quickly untouchable. No, nobody's untouchable. Now that news about wanting a late first rounder for him, no thanks. I get that. But some of you are acting like this guy is already Lou Williams. You know, it's just I don't get it. He's just got to be better. He's not consistent, never has been, and honestly, he's not showing many signs that he will ever be. It's bad shot selection, or it's just simply not being on a particular night. The other night in Chicago, when he was 1 for 12, I thought he was missing everything, open or not. But last night, I thought his shot selection wasn't great. I thought it was poor. He was hesitating to attack some open lanes. He's got a tendency to take heat checks often and force those 2-for-1s. But I don't know, man. We need more. You know, and I'm kind of tired of waiting for it to come offensively. Like I've said with many guys on this team, I think Quickly is just who he is. You know, he might improve, but to a degree, and not to any level Knicks fans may think he's capable of improving at. The consistency is just not there offensively. Maybe I'm wrong, right? But anyways, we're talking about the bench as a whole. he's not really scoring consistently. Obi Toppin is out, so I get that has some effect to some things, right? That's 10 points per game guy right there you're missing. Good screener. He opens up some of the things for it quickly. Isaiah Hartenstein, I'm not big on him, but maybe get him some more touches. I don't know. Jericho Sims, maybe throw him some more lobs, whether it's out of pick and roll or him coming out of the dunker spot in the short corner there. I don't know. On Hartenstein, though, I did give him a bing bong game ball last night, to be honest. I did.
Bing bang.
Yeah. The bench wasn't great last night, okay? He scored 2 points and had 6 rebounds, but he had moments. He attacked the weak side last night. He made some quick passes where the defense was slow to recover. I thought he played the drop coverage pretty decently last night. 2 blocks, contested the rim well. I like that. Excuse me. I like that double contest with both he and Sims at the rim at one point. I think it was maybe like early second quarter where they were both out there on the floor, and Mathurin tries driving middle, and he's only to be met by both Isaiah and Jericho with their arms straight up at the rim, basically building a wall. They get in possession early. They see him. They meet him down there. It was a nice defensive possession. But yeah, he gets his, was it his 4th award this year? Yeah, that's kind of it. Overall, good win for the Knicks. I'm starting to get a little excited. I'm a little nervous though. Like, at what point do we call it a good season? Should we? Should we just wait? I will say, okay, as much as I'm trying to temper my expectation, I will say there is a great chance here, a great opportunity to make this a legitimate season if they capitalize this week. Because you look at this schedule coming up. You're going back home for 4 games. You have the lackluster Golden State Warriors tomorrow night, and they're without Steph Curry now. And the Knicks usually play them pretty well. You have Toronto, who is below 500, currently on a 5-game skid as we speak. They could possibly be blowing it up soon. And talk about blowing it up, then you meet with the on the brink of blowing it up Chicago Bulls once again, who you just swept towards the end of the week. So if they can take care of those 3 teams, we're talking about, something special developing here this season. And, then we, after all that, on Sunday, we've got the big Christmas Day matchup at home against the Philly 76ers. So that's going to be tough, but it's going to be fun and exciting, all depending on what happens leading up to that. But it's been fun. They're 17-3. I got no big complaints. My only complaint is, where are these toxic loser mentality Knicks fans from early in the season who wanted to do nothing but tank and blow it up and just start losing for draft picks, for a coin flip in the draft, right? Where are you guys? After 15, 20 games, you wanted to give it up. Is building a winning culture not fun to you? Are you really not enjoying this right now? I will say, I hope that you're sticking with your opinion at least. Because to then just flip-flop and say, all right, this is fun, let's keep going for wins, that's just pathetic of you. Wishy-washy. We'll head to break, get back, wrap it up with our parlay and trivia, and then that'll be that. Stay with us. We'll be right there. Studio 69 Productions is a podcast production agency created by Leo Rodriguez to allow content creators to market their podcast. It's an online platform that will market your podcast or any other project that you're working on. Get in touch with Leo Rodriguez from Studio 69 Productions. You can find Studio 69 Productions on Instagram at Studio69NJ. Studio 69 Productions, where dreams are heard and born. Welcome to RJ's Parlay, where my degenerate self breaks down tonight's big parlay. If I miss, it's not surprising. If I hit, I'll probably lose it all tomorrow night, because that's how this works. Welcome to RJ's Parlay. Yesterday's parlay, we had a 4-pick parlay for plus 288 odds. Randle, 35 plus points, rebounds, assists. Brunson, 6 plus assists. Kansas City Chiefs on the money line. Then we had Daniel Jones for 150 plus passing yards. I believe we hit on 3 of the 4, so not enough. I think we missed we missed just one, and it was Brunson getting 6 assists. Of course, he has like his season low in assists probably of 3 last night. But yeah, that's what I do is lose. Let's get to our trivia. Wrap this up. All right, so for episode 452, our NYY-NYK-MMA trivia question of the day is, who holds the highest player efficiency rating of all time for the Knicks? Who holds the highest player efficiency rating of all time for the Knicks? All right. So one last time, who holds the highest player efficiency rating of all time for the Knicks? I'll give you a little bit of a hint. The answer will probably make you laugh and be like, oh, really? It's pretty funny. That's your hint. I don't know if that's a good enough hint. I'll say that he was a big man. I'll give you that. So he was either a power forward or a center. Nothing below. He wasn't a guard, wasn't a forward, wasn't a wing, any of that. He was a big. That's your hint. He was a big, and the answer will probably make you chuckle. The highest player efficiency rating of all time for the Knicks, which is why you got to take that stat, like every stat, with a grain of salt. Guys, that's it. That's it. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode. I'm your host, RJ. Episode 450 is in the books. I'm signing out. Later. This episode was brought to you by Anchor.